So Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth is back on the Hill again today, and his testimony comes as the U.S. evacuates from some personnel, including spouses, from the Middle East over tension with Iran. Here's what the president said.
Well, they are being moved out because it could be a dangerous place, and we'll see what happens. But they are we've given notice to move out, and we'll see what happens.
Is there anything that can be done to dial the temperature down in the region?
They can't have a nuclear weapon. Very simply. They can't have a nuclear weapon. We're not going to allow that.
So Pete Hegseth has said military dependence, for time to leave spouses from the bases in the region, also a travel emergency advisory in Baghdad for the U.S. Embassy, which pretty much goes without saying, but it shows the extension of people concern about what's going to happen in the region. Let's bring in U.S. Ambassador to NATO, Matt Whitaker. Ambassador, great to see you. We're looking at 2 and 2. We're seeing the IAEA condemn Iran for not complying with their enrichment levels, and we're thinking that a hit is imminent. What should we know?
Well, obviously, it's good to be with you, first of all, Brian. But second, this is a very dangerous world. And we know certain things about Iran that inform us. One is that we know that they have funded a proxy war, whether it's with the Houthis or Hamas or Hezbollah. And so they're willing to kill, people around the world, and especially in the Middle East. And given a nuclear weapon, we fully would expect that they would use it. And President Trump is absolutely right that they cannot have one. And so as they continue to pursue a nuclear weapon, obviously the free world and those that are threatened by it, especially Israel, to which a Iranian nuclear weapon would be an existential threat, have to be ready to respond. And I think, it appears, again, just based on even the public reporting that's available, Brian, that they are close to that threshold of having an ability to deliver a nuclear weapon, and that's just not going to be allowed. And President Trump has been very clear and very strong on this.
We're about to a 6th round of talks, but they produced nothing. The CENTCOM commander said this about our range of options should Iran not comply.
President Trump's made it clear that if Iran doesn't permanently give up its nuclear enrichment, military force by the U.S. may be necessary. If the president directed, is CENTCOM prepared to respond with overwhelming force to prevent a nuclear-armed Iran?
I have provided the Secretary of Defense and the President a wide range of options.
I take that as a yes.
Yes.
The military presence in the area. The other big challenge that's happening in Ukraine, Zelenskyy is demanding action from America, another round of drone strikes from Russia, but they're not going after military targets. They're going after apartment buildings and civilians. Zelenskyy is pushing for America to put pressure on Russia, saying, quote, it is vital. We roll it back. It is vital that the response to this and other similar Russian attacks is not silence from the world, but concrete action from America. And he goes on. Zelensky's frustrated. He thinks we should increase our weapon shipments, even Patriot missiles. He'll write a check for it. Don't you believe we should support him?
Well, we have been supporting Ukraine. That is, so suggest that somehow the United States hasn't actually been helpful, I think, again, points to sometimes how President Zelenskyy can be, not as grateful as I think the American people would expect, as much as we poured into that $300+ billion of taxpayer money. And at the same time, I mentioned it being an existential threat to Israel. Russia's invasion of Ukraine is obviously an existential threat to the Ukrainians and their freedom. And so, he has every right to say what he thinks. President Trump, I think, has been very measured because President Trump wants peace. He wants a ceasefire. He wants the killing to end, not only on the battlefield, but also the civilian loss of life that we've seen. It just needs to end. We need both sides to come to the table and agree to an immediate ceasefire.
Ambassador, as you know, Ukraine's at the table. Russia isn't. They want it to continue, and they want to start dominating the area. I think that we should all recognize that. I think you do. Ambassador Whitaker, thanks so much.
All right. Thank you. Good to see you, Brian.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.